Another thing that he says in the book is leaving pride at the door, and like you can't muscle your way through everything. Then he basically says like you need help. Like you weren't meant to do this alone.
Right.
And then he kind of goes into the next heading, which is called sharpened, not shamed. And then that's when he talks about Proverbs 27, verse 17.
Yes.
Which, for those of you who don't have it memorized, is as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. So what did you think of that verse in the context that he was putting it in?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it works well. Knowing what I just learned before we started this podcast. I think it works well.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that, as you have one person, like the two people working together, they continue to build each other up and to strengthen one another. And when one person, like we were saying before, when one person's ready to fall, the other person's there to help,
Yeah.
to support them.
Mm-hmm. No, exactly. I know when I think of that, like what came to my mind was kind of like a blade left in the elements would rust, but a blade that's kind of like actively in use and like routinely like refined and maintained would remain refined. Like,
Yes.
it wouldn't rust.
It would remain in peak condition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of like went through my mind when I read that. And it's kind of like the same thing too with us is if you have like your fellowship or your sharpening partner, as he calls it, if they're not actually sharpening you and they're just kind of like yes men, they're essentially just leaving you to the elements.
Right.
Whereas if they're like, well,
Yeah.
no, like if they're not actually going to hold you accountable, then
Then what's the point of having them around?
No, exactly. So that was just one thing that I kind of thought of. And then another thing that I thought about was in the book, Mark, the author, he says, it's not about judgment, but it's about refinement. And then sharpening implies friction, heat, and closeness. And then he also writes, like, you can't sharpen someone from a distance. And then you can't be sharpened without being open. And I think those are kind of like two important points because it's like if you're drawing yourself or closing yourself off and you're not letting anybody in, well, then how's anybody going to hold you accountable?
Yeah, if they don't know anything about you, they can't hold you to a standard.
Exactly. And then at the same time, if you're not making an active effort to like draw close to somebody else, then how are you going to sharpen them? How are you going to hold them accountable? Because you're not making the effort to draw yourself to them.
Right.
So my thoughts on what he wrote there was it's okay to be vulnerable. Like it's okay to open yourself up. It's okay to show other people that you stumble. And then like at the same time, it's also okay to be challenged. Because again, like if everybody's just agreeing with you just for the sake of agreeing with you, then you're not.
There's no growth.
Exactly.
You just stay stagnant. You're in an echo chamber, right?
Yeah. And then to that same end, we also have to be okay with like receiving correction. Like it's one thing to get correction, but it's another thing to be like, okay, I'll accept your correction and actually receive it with like an open heart and not get combative.
Yeah. It's important to remain humble enough to know when you're talking to somebody who knows better than you.
Exactly.